Hello everybody. Today we're going to continue with the nervous system. We're doing chapter 13. I don't think you have this PowerPoint presentation, but I will send it to you as well. And we're going to start with some embryological, which is in the beginning. Okay. So, when the cell first divides after about 16 days, you will have three layers: endoderm, which is inside. There's mesoderm, and then there's ectoderms. So inside would be endoderm, usually your digestive systems and all that, respiratory. Meso, remember the word M, with muscles, connective tissue, and ectoderms on the outside. It's more, it will become your nervous system and your integumentary system. So from the neuroectoderm, we have a neural plate, okay? And then progressive to a groove, it will form a little groove like that, okay? And then it will wrap together, okay? And then later on, it will become a neural tube, okay? The neural tube formed just beneath the ectoderm. So remember, there's ectoderm. Around 25 days, the anterior develops into the brain. Posterior become the spinal cord. So this is a cross section. Then it will develop into something like this. Okay, primary vesicle. So they're like balloons. Okay. So these balloons, called primary vesicles. Okay. First of all, in the beginning, there's three of them. Okay. First one is the proencephalons, becomes your forebrain. Mesencephalon becomes your midbrain, and rhombocephalons become your hindbrain. Okay. Then this will further divide into telecephalon, diencephalon, mesocephalon, metencephalon, and myelencephalon. We're going to see all those later on. So then this will become your cerebrum, which is your brain on the outside. Here is midbrain. Here is pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. We're going to see all that. This is the thalamus, hypothalamus. This is also, you'll become very familiar with these terms. So this will become like your brain, and here's the brainstem area. Spinal cord pretty much does not change in shape. Okay, the cell that's in the wall of the neural tube differentiated into neuron and glial cells. The dorsal part would become sensory, and the ventral part would become motor. Now this is very important. So the dorsal is in the back. Okay, it will become your sensory part. So usually things that like we saw in the water sensation, you know, when you touch the water before that that picture, if you go back and look at it, that pathway goes to the back of the spinal cord, which is the dorsal part, the sensory part. And then it goes all the way up to the brain, and then it will process the information and comes back through the ventral part. If you remember, the ventral means the anterior portion of your nervous system. And I think we're going to look at it later on in the chapter. Okay, so here's the brain. Okay, this one, please be familiar with it. It's the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. If you cut the brain in half, I think there's plenty of pictures of corpus callosum. Okay, so this is right there. Okay, it looks like that. Oh, right there. Okay, so this is a connection between the two hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right brain. That's the corpus callosum. Okay, please remember that term. Okay, so that's your right hemisphere, left hemisphere. Longitudinal fissure. Okay. Cerebral cortex is on the outside. Largest part, learning, memory, emotional, conscious, and behavior. Remember gray matter. What is gray matter? Is more of the cell body. Okay. Basal nuclei and basal forebrain. Okay. We'll see those later. And then tooth hemisphere separated by the longitudinal fissure and is connected by the corpus callosum. Well, might as well talk about this. The limbic system, remember that, okay, is for memory, emotion, and behavior. Basal nuclei, cognitive planning, and basal forebrain, learning and memory as well. Cerebral cortex, there are 4 major regions. Parietal, primary somatosensory, okay, receptor and conscious perception, touch, pain, pressure, tickle, itch, vibration, all those body position, okay. All these are somatosensory. Somato again means body, and sensation is sensation, okay. So here is your frontal lobe, okay, parietal lobe, okay, occipital lobe in the back, and temporal lobe. Similar to the skull, it's named in those same region. Okay, here's your little brain called the cerebellum, and then your brainstem here. We're going to talk about those later. Okay, so the frontal lobe, right here in the front. Okay, primary is for motor function. Okay, premotor also talk about thinking about movements, planning. The prefrontal is personality, short-term memory, consciousness. So a lot of some people, when they back then when they did lobotomy, where they go in through the nose and you know, fry part of the brain or take out the frontal lobe, their personality completely changed because this area affects the personality. Okay, motor area, motor speech, called the Broca's area. We're going to see that here. Most people on the left side. Separated again, here's the central sulcus, and that's other one is the longitudinal sulcus. Temporal lobe. Okay, we talked about temporal lobe on the side. So here's that Broca's area we saw. It's on right here in the orange area. This is the speech. Okay, the motor speech area, Broca's. Okay, one thing also to remember is the Wernicke's area right here. Wernicke's area, okay, is for in the parietal and temporal area, understanding speech and reading and choosing words. So important because it's written here. So remember, the Broca's area is for speech, and this is for motor speech, okay, and the Wernicke's area is for understanding speech, okay, and choosing the right words to say. The temporal is on the side, right, by your ear. Okay, primary auditory, part of the limbic system. Remember the limbic system, we talked about it up here, is for memory, behavior, and emotion. Okay, so when you talk about limbic system, usually long-term memory. Okay, occipital area, primary visual area. Like sometimes people, you know, they get hit in the back of the head, and then they go blind. okay, because that is the primary visual area. Okay. Okay, so these two, you'll see them as well, but this picture here doesn't really show you where it is. So the hippocampus, is somewhere in here, okay, and the amygdala, it's somewhere around here in the front. Okay, so this one they cut. So hippocampus and amygdala, also for long-term memory and emotional responses. The basal forebrain location for acetylcholine production. You guys remember what acetylcholine is, right? It's a neurotransmitter. Let's see, this one doesn't show it here. The basal nuclei, we're going to see it in several slides behind. Okay, several behind. So come back to this and you'll see when we talk about the midbrain and all that, it's all in there. So here comes the diencephalon. Oh, no wonder. Sorry for the interruption. I was getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Diencephalons. Diencephalon is the connection between the cerebellum and the rest of the brain. So the cerebellum is down here. Okay, information. Okay, so all the information, okay, goes to the cerebellum, through the diencephalon, and to the brain. So diencephalon is it's a connection. Okay, it sends information all over, and here's where it receives it, except for olfactory, which is your sense of smell. It goes directly to the cerebellum. Okay, so again, everything comes from the spine, goes through the diencephalon, and then goes to the rest of the brain, except the sense of smell. Okay, in the diencephalon consists of the thalamus, hypothalamus, the optic tract, optic chiasm, pituitary, mammillary bodies, pineal gland, and we're going to look through all of them. Okay, we're going to see them in the lab. So here's the pituitary gland. Okay, here's the hypothalamus. You see, looks like an eye. Okay, now behind the pituitary right here is the pineal gland. You remember where the pituitary gland sits on? It sits on the sella turcica. Okay, hypothalamus. This area right here would be the thalamus. Okay. Thalamus. Largest part shaped like a yo-yo. Okay. Two large lateral part connected by a small interthalamus adhesion. So it's right here. Okay. Most sensory input goes through here. Ascends through the cord and the brainstem. Okay. Remember, comes through here. And then it's going to connect to the rest of the brain wherever it needs to go, whether it's long-term memory, visual, whatever, except smell. Okay. Thalamus, axon, then relay to so it comes here, then the axon